I hope we haven't started.
Hey, we have.
Oh, goodness.
Oh, goodness gracious. Alright, so, hello everybody, how's it going? Welcome to the
Welcome
7th
back.
episode. Ooh.
Is this the 7th episode, really?
It's the 7th episode. I mean, we totally missed last week, and we apologize. We forgot, then we forgot again. Then we realized, oh shit, it's Valentine's Day, and we've already made plans, so we're just gonna you know what, fuck it, we'll put it off for next week.
No, what happened was I was stuck somewhere, and I was like, there's like a 50% chance I'm gonna get home in time to record. So I messaged Connor, I was like, can we do it tomorrow? He's like, sure. And then it was tomorrow, and tomorrow was Valentine's Day. And I was like, you're probably on a date. And he's like, I'm on a date. And we just left it.
It's like, I have a 5% chance that there's a 50% chance that I'll be able to get home on time.
Yeah. And I did not. It was good that we rescheduled because I was not home on time.
Ooh.
Wow, we have 7 people watching. That's outrageous.
That's outrageous. And how?
We need a soundboard again. This is another moment where we need a soundboard.
We need one. You know what?
It's like, where?
I'm gonna see if I can download one on my phone.
All right.
Actually,
So we have a story this week.
We do have a story this week.
I'm pretty excited. I worked on it a lot while I was at work these past few days, trying to get it just right. It is... Oh, we have 8 people now. It is a ghost story. It's very short, but it was a lot of fun to write. And it's not really super scary, but I think it's really fun to make up your own interpretation of a paranormal species, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
And do you know what I mean, Connor?
Like making up giving a mythos and a culture and a civilization to just a completely out of the blue thing.
That's very complex. I more meant like Stephanie Meyer made vampires sparkly.
Oh, I'm thinking like fucking George Lucas creating, fucking Jedis.
No, I just mean different authors create a different interpretation of the paranormal. So
yeah, kind of like who is it? J.R.R. Tolkien. How he took elves and he made them more interesting. And not she's just whimsical people that live in the woods. They're like, no, they're these regal, sophisticated, very, elegant beings that live in the woods, and they have a vibrant culture, and they're warriors and they're craftsmen and stuff like that. They're artists, and it's not just we work for Santa Claus and we build toys.
Yeah, so I had fun. I spent a lot of time when I was younger writing ghost stories and developing sort of my own interpretation of how ghosts would be.
I love ghosts.
And
ghosts and skeletons are my favorite supernatural things. Tell you what, not next week, but the week after next week, I'm gonna write a story about a skeleton.
Ooh, do it.
Yeah. So tell us more about your ghosts.
Do you want me to just start reading, or what do you want me to do?
Give us a little bit more of an in-depth about your love for supernatural stuff.
I don't know. I was just that's a stupid answer, but it's true. I was a weird kid, and I was the one that liked to read the fantasy books, and there was 2 years of school where it was the transition from elementary school to middle school. Mm-hmm. Where a lot of my friends left, because my school was all kindergarten through senior year. It was the same school, but they transitioned from elementary to middle. A lot of people left, so I had this weird period where I was very isolated, and so I just spent that time always writing, and that was, I think we all in school, at least in Sequential Art, had our baby. That was our universe, our epic, and my original story.
Yeah.
And mine was
it's just Inuyasha, but Fuck off.
It was Inuyasha with different hair colors.
It's Steven
No.
Universe, but Garnet's a ginger.
No, mine was just mostly about ghosts, and I started out by I was trying to create this new paranormal species, and it just went into just being ghosts.
It's ghosts,
and that was...
but you dropped the G, so they're hosts. Sorry.
I don't even know what to say to that.
Sorry. Wait, I got it.
Connor just does something that just kind of stops you.
And I just downloaded a soundboard.
Yay!
Yay!
I don't know what else I can say without giving too much away, though. I think I would just read it.
Well, then let's just jump right into it.
Okay.
Yeah. All right. So, begin when you're ready.
All right, cool. Once again, I am reading aloud live. How this keeps happening, I don't know. But, all right, this is a story called Sleeping with Ghosts. The rooms were haunted. At least that's what they told Danielle when she checked in. Mrs. Godfrey's seaside boarding house was exactly what one would expect for Savannah, Georgia. Tall and narrow with intricate Victorian facades. And of course, supposedly riddled with ghosts. An enormous leather-bound book was on the front desk, listing each room along with the tragic history of the ghosts that occupied them. Guests were meant to choose, like selecting a flavor of ice cream or shoe from a catalog. Glancing down briefly, Danielle pointed to room 4. The Calder room, the old desk clerk smiled knowingly. She opened the cabinet behind her and picked out the thick brass key between her thumb and forefinger. He's one of our more popular spirits. Such a mischievous little thing, isn't he? She laughed as though fawning over a favorite grandchild. When she did this, her wrinkled gray eyes glazed and sparkled, giving her a momentary uncanny look of a porcelain doll. Suddenly, her laughter sounded canned. The handle of Danielle's suitcase nearly slipped from her fingers. She looked down to switch luggage from one hand to the other, and she looked back up and blinked, stunned. The clerk was once again simply an old woman, with an odd smile trying to placate her face. Room 4 was a corner suite, just off the second landing. The heavy key clicked loudly in the lock, and the door swung open. The room was dark, too chilly for an old house in summer. A cool white glow spilled in through the thin lace curtains. Danielle felt a shiver run down her back, a fingertip of air tracing her spine. She closed her eyes. There was a distinct scent of peppermint and orange blossoms. The room pulsed. Dust motes began to gather and rotate, a cosmic phenomenon in the musty air. Then a thin channel of air rushed into her ear. She jumped, covering it. Her heart raced, and a warm, husky chortle echoed off the vaulted ceiling. "You're back." The voice was now in her other ear. "Yes," Danielle breathed. He chuckled again. "What is it this time?" The voice was everywhere now, like moisture in the air. Danielle felt herself blushing. "I wanted to see you again." "Did you?" The laughter still weaved into every word. She was blushing now. All she could manage was a whispered, "Yes." Suddenly the room was too bright, every light clicking on at once. Danielle squinted her eyes, not yet adjusted, and she stretched out one hand to find the winged chair she knew was somewhere by the hearth. Before she found it, she was seated in it. Everything had skipped a few moments forward, like a scratched scene on a DVD. Disoriented, Danielle glanced around. The room was much too still, much too empty, totally silent. And then he was there, sitting in the chair across from her as though he'd been there all along. The man was beautiful. There was no other way to put it. Blue-black hair fell silkily around his face. His long eyes were slightly almond-shaped, radiating a brilliant green. He was so pale that he was almost translucent, and his limbs were long and slender. He was completely elegant, completely lovely. Everest, Danielle sighed. At the sound of his name, the corner of his lips quirked. Danielle, he replied. I've missed you, she confessed. Everest said nothing. The woman at the desk tells me you're pretty popular these days. He shrugged. I'm a good time. But of course, you already know that. He let the sit a moment, watching her careful expression. Then he continued. What brings you to town? I'm getting married, she told him. For a moment, his face glitched, the form briefly flickering out of existence. But he was back before a second had passed. Congratulations. Thank you. The ticking of the grandfather clock in the corner became the only sound in the room. Everest sat with his long, pale fingers laced together just under his lips. He wasn't going to break the silence, and Danielle knew it. After all, he was dead. He could sit there forever. I wanted to see if I objected, he scoffed. She looked down, abashed. Everest came to his feet then and crossed the small oriental rug to kneel at her side. Ever so gently, he rested a hand on hers. It was a buzzing thrum, both hot and cold at once, sending a pulsing sensation through her entire body. Her skin prickled, all the little hairs on her body stood to attention. He was pure electricity. We've been down this road, he murmured. Tears filled her eyes before she could stop them. She croaked, I know, but... And we know where it goes. Their eyes met. But I love you, she pleaded softly. He turned away from her. Don't say that. The walls slowly began to vibrate. The lights began to pulsate, a patterned blackness running overhead, blurring Danielle's vision. Everest's form faded suddenly. So translucent, he was nothing more than light shining through smoke, or soaked lace on a skeleton of ice. When he spoke, his voice was distorted, and once again dispersed through the room. You know, I cannot leave this room. She did know. What started out as an occasional thrilling tryst had become something impossible when she realized what he really meant to her. Long before they'd ever met, Everest had died in this room, a dark finale to a miserable youth. It didn't matter how much he regretted his final decision in life. In death, he could not change it. The room's pulsing was growing faster and faster, the pressure of the atmosphere growing heavier and heavier. Everest was formless now, evaporated. Danielle pressed her hands over her ears, trying to keep the pressure from bursting her eardrums. Then it all ceased abruptly. Opening her eyes, Danielle saw the light of just one lamp remained. Everest shimmered in the corner, a collection of dust over its light. Don't spend your life chasing ghosts, he warned her in a brittle voice. That's how you end up like me. What you think, Connor? Unmute.
Hold on.
You're back, I hear you.
Okay. Okay. Is it working? Can you hear me?
Yeah, I hear you.
Okay, cool.
What do you think?
So I liked it. I liked how the he was just like, so correct me if I'm wrong. His description was like a person that was see-through, but like you could see his skeleton underneath, like inside him, like but like an ethereal kind of skeleton.
He would come together and fade depending on his emotions.
Okay.
So if he were more his natural self,
Okay.
he was solid. If he was uh, sort of emotionally broken, he became faded, and he would become translucent, and you could see
Okay.
the little pieces of him.
Yeah.
But I compared him a lot to like dust or
Mm-hmm.
um,
Frost.
yeah, or moisture, or
Yeah.
just things that are naturally sort of collect in the air and can gather together and
Hmm.
separate.
Less of like, and I liked how it wasn't really. It was more of a. I liked how it wasn't this kind of Ghostbusters esque type of supernatural where he's like like an ectoplasmic, corporeal thing. Like he almost seemed like he was. It almost felt like it was all in her head.
Mm.
Like she was the only one who could see him because she was, you know, I liked how you described how he was very also. It also seemed like he was very dependent on the type of light that was in the room.
Mhm.
Like if the windows were open, you couldn't see him that well because it's like stars on a sky in the sky, but they're harder to see because of the light levels of the city around.
Right, yeah.
And I like that kind of idea where it's like he is giving off his own light, but because of that he can easily be drowned out by much brighter, intenser lights.
Yeah.
um I loved the description of the room. Like when you started to describe everything, I was like, oh yeah, I know where I am. Like I can see the little doilies on the couch. So, uh, yeah, I liked it. It was very good descriptions of the just and it wasn't an over description and stuff. And I liked how he was only confined to he killed himself in the room, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I like how he was only confined in that room. Because that's a living hell. That would be a living hell.
Yeah.
Because what do you do when when your entire world is four walls? You know,
Well, apparently you seduce all the patrons of the
I guess.
of the uh what is it? Boarding house. It was supposed to be like a bed and breakfast kind of place.
Mm-hmm.
And what the desk clerk was saying was like guests come and they sort of ask for him because um
He's a smooth
he's
rider.
very entertaining.
Yeah.
And that's kind of what
Smooth
she was asking about, as sort of like
operator.
a jealous ex being like, well, you must be popular now. And
Yeah.
that's how they got started, but they had genuine feeling for each other. And
Mm-hmm.
um but what else are you gonna do?
Yeah. Might as well fuck people while I'm dead.
Delicately put, Connor.
Might as well. Well, I'm not getting any younger, nor am I growing old. My life is four walls. Better whore myself out. He has like a
But yeah,
dildo in his.
I didn't want to put it completely bluntly of like he was sad and killed himself.
He
It was
was.
more of
Yeah.
he got stuck and don't get stuck.
Yeah.
And the point of it was to sort of be a metaphor of
Suicide.
chasing the ghost of a good thing. You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah. Don't get so wrapped up in like the don't get so wrapped up in the good things in life to where when bad things happen you're so eager to get out of them without actually solving the problem that it never gets better because you're not letting it get better because you're not trying to, you know, you're not letting yourself grieve, you're not letting yourself experience
Hmm.
those dark times. And if you can't be sad, you can't be happy. Because happiness,
Yeah.
true happiness, is knowing what sadness is.
Yeah, exactly. I'm more specifically talking about, something that was really great is gone now. And
Yeah.
instead of accepting it and moving on to the next great thing,
Yeah.
you just keep thinking about how good that thing was.
It's like an addiction.
Yeah, even though it's over and like you can't have it.
Yeah.
You keep thinking,
It's gone. It is physically gone. You're so
yeah,
like so just like, but it was so good. It's like, yes, but it's gone. It's we need to move on now. Like the movie is over. Get out of your seat,
yeah,
or if anything, pay for another ticket. But you can't keep sitting in this movie theater.
yeah. And
You have to learn to move on.
it's gonna stay in that room. It's gonna stay in that place,
Yeah.
and you can't stay in that room forever.
Did you? I forget. Did you say how he killed himself?
No, I did not. I just implied it.
Okay.
There's a whole other story, and I actually did some of my when I took self-directed projects at school. I did a lot of my stories about this character, and or my projects were based off of this character's story. And why are you dancing?
I'm sorry, I'm thinking about something.
All right, you can tell me.
You
You
want
want to tell me now? Or you want to tell me?
I'll tell you now. I was like,
Okay.
what if him and her form a crime fighting duo, and he's like Sherlock Holmes but from home, and she goes out and solves the crimes and stuff, but she brings back all the information, and he's like, because all he has to do is sit in that room, and he just sits there and he like thinks and stuff. And he has to like, tell her like maybe blah 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 blah, and like he's the brains behind the organization, and she's like, she's like the footman, and she has to go out and like, solve the crime, but he's the one like, well, maybe so and so's the murderer. Like, what did you find at the crime scene? And she's like, well, I found this fork and this bloody eyeball. And he's like, maybe they used the fork to pull the eyeball out. And she's like, yeah,
Maybe the fork is
it's
the
a
murderer.
play. Maybe the fork is the murderer. Well,
I don't know about that. I think you've been in that room too
long. Sniffing pain.
Yeah, I had another version of this I was trying to write a couple weeks ago, and it was just like, this is bad. Like, it wasn't going anywhere. It wasn't. I think I didn't know what I was trying to say with it, and that's something I like. Yeah, but that's something that I think Dabs taught us pretty well when we would write scripts or stories, and he would say, like, what are you trying to say with this? What are you trying to do?
What's the moral? What's the point?
Yeah, exactly. And once you think of that, it all kind of comes together. But I didn't have a point.
I think that's a really good. Aspect, and I think that's what a lot of movies nowadays kind of, fail on is what kind of story they get an idea in their head and they're like, oh man, wouldn't this be really cool? And it's like, yeah, it would be really cool, but you can't base an entire movie off of one action sequence. Mm-hmm. What story are you trying to tell? Why does, I don't know, why does the main character do this? Why, and I think that's what's the reason why a lot of 80s movies or movies from the olden days were really good, because they realize that they're like, these stories have to have a moral. They have to have a reason. Like, what the story itself is completely indicative, if that's the right use of the term. The story itself is completely, it does not need, like, you could have told Star Wars from the aspect of fantasy, because it wasn't about it being in space. It wasn't about it being, the Force or whatever. The Force could have been anything. It could have been magic. It could have been science. It could have been anything. But the moral of the story was, in times of need, a hero has to arise to battle evil, even when they are closely tied to that evil. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
Like all of those really good movies, the moral is what makes the movie. It doesn't matter who the actors are. It's and I think a lot nowadays is people get so tied up on like, well, how do we make this cool? How do we make this a blockbuster? It's like, great, but what's the moral? Like when you sit into a movie theater and you're just like, what did I just watch? Like, and you're just trying to understand like what happened. It's because the moral, it either didn't have a moral, it didn't have a reason, or if it did, it was so skewed and so like hand-fisted in that you're just like, like what is it? What's it called? Suicide Squad. Have you seen Suicide Squad?
I don't want to, but I was gonna say that's my problem with a lot of the comic book movies that are being released lately. They have so much emphasis on the fighting sequence and the action and the costumes and the flashiness and there's 12 villains and we're in 3 different countries and I don't even know what I just watched. And I'm familiar with these stories. And it's like, Yeah. And, like I saw the Avengers, a couple of those movies, and every time I have seen one of those, by the end I'm just like, what happened?
Yeah.
Like
Winter Soldier was good. I loved Winter Soldier because it was the idea behind Winter Soldier was it was a really dark story where it has a few like character arcs where it's like Tony Stark, not Tony Stark, sorry, Captain America has to face his demons. He has to,
Mhm.
people that are from his past are coming back, and Tony needs to deal with it, and it's people he cares about, and people he trusted can no longer be trusted.
Yeah.
And it's a really good story and stuff. But then you see movies like fucking Suicide Squad, and I'm not gonna try to give anything away, but the person they pose as the main character of the movie, even though it's a team movie, they have a main character. I'm not gonna say who it is because spoilers,
Will
but
Smith.
there is no character arc whatsoever. Person starts off as a dickhead in the beginning of the movie. He's a dickhead in the middle of the movie, and then he's a dickhead at the end of the movie. There is
Yeah.
literally no character arc for that character. He's just the same as he was the entire time. And it's like, okay, what have we learned? Nothing. What was the moral of the story?
Nothing.
Nothing. No, there was no moral. There was no reason. It was just it. There's one thing that really pisses me off so much about that moral. When they're like, we need to form this team, and someone literally in the movie says, why don't we just rely on Batman or Superman? And they're like, well, we can't control Batman or Superman. They're a what's the word? Um, they're a they're uncontrollable. Like we don't have any leverage against them. They're too much of a loose cannon. But yet you would use a group of psychopaths, murderers, and criminals because those people aren't loose cannons? Like, come
Yeah.
on. Like the comic book did it so much better where it's like, why do you want to use a Suicide Squad? And in the comic book, they're like, the reason we are devising this team is so that when they do fuck up, we can be like, oh, we can literally say to the public, oh, it's just these criminals that fucked up.
Hmm.
And it leads nowhere near back to that it was actually the U.S. government that was involved. They can
Right.
just use the fact that the team itself is also an scapegoat. If the team gets shit done for them, and if the team fucks up, the team is an scapegoat for itself because
Hmm.
they're a group of high class world criminals. So it's like if they
Hmm.
fuck up, we're just gonna be like, well, it was just these team is the vast, it's a team of villains that just did this horrible shit, and then the superhero will come in and deal with them. But in the
Yeah.
movie, they're just like, we need them because we need a team that we can control that isn't a loose cannon. It's like, but they're all criminals. They're all criminals. You know?
Yeah.
Oh, so dumb, so stupid. Oh, there's
I
some of the
watched
scenes in the movie. Ugh.
I watched a critique of the editing of that film.
It was edited by a trailer house. It wasn't even done by an
Yeah.
actual editing studio.
It was edited by a trailer house, and boy, can you tell.
Yeah.
I mean, it was going through a lot of the problems with the editing, and it was interesting to see that critique because I never paid too much attention to the editing of films,
Mm-hmm.
or I guess I didn't really consider it, that
Yeah.
it's its own separate job. And
That's why there's bloopers and
just
outtakes.
yeah, it's just a really bizarre way how much it can change it. And like the fight scene at the end was like a big discussion of like the tension was building and building, and then they stop and like explain what's happening. And it's
Yeah.
like, don't do that.
Like
You're about to defeat the villain.
it's like somebody gets cut with a knife and they're like, great, now that they've been cut with a knife, do this. And it's like, we know you went through your plan before the fight happened. You don't need to give us a play-by-play of what's going on. We have eyes. It's a movie. We know what we just saw. We know
Yeah.
what to expect afterwards. And what happens? One of the villain's henchmen, like companions, dies. And she's like, how could you? Like, oh, you killed them. And it's like, well, why didn't you fight back? And it's like, well, and they lead it up to being like, oh, she can't fight back because she has to maintain this thing that she's doing, and if she doesn't maintain it, it won't. This ritual will stop, and she'll have to start all over again. But it's bullshit because 5 minutes later, she's fighting them while still doing the ritual. And it's like, well, why didn't you just fucking do that when the person you cared about died was fighting them?
Yeah. There's
It's
zero consistency in the
doesn't make
story.
sense. Oh, and then this one character who speaks in this one character who has very formal speak, like they speak very like proper and very like Elizabethan, like very, like doth thou, like, do you prefer the blade, like shit like that. The last line they say is, you don't got the balls. It's like, where did that come from? Where did that come from? This character has never shown the capacity to speak this way.
Yeah. And I think that's a good transition into what we wanted to talk about today, which is character development.
Yes. Character development. If you can't get this right, then don't bother writing a story.
Your story is just not gonna take you anywhere.
Yes.
And especially with something like that, if a character speaks one way and
then you
that's their
character.
personality.
There's nothing worse
and there's
than
absolutely no
character. Yeah.
Huh?
There's nothing worse than breaking character for the sake of breaking character. Wouldn't it be great if this person would say this? Yes, but is it in their character? No, but wouldn't it be fun? No, because then I'm just like, what?
Just go write fan fiction if you want to abruptly change a character.
It's like Luke Skywalker fighting with Darth Vader, and in the very end, he just pulls out a handgun and, fucking execution style blows Darth Vader's head off, and he's like, yeah! And you're just like, but...
Wait.
What? Luke doesn't want to kill Darth Vader, he wants to redeem Darth Vader. Why did he just fucking pop a cap in his ass? Well, wasn't it cool? No, it was dumb.
Yeah, you just have to consider your characters are the vehicle for your story.
Yeah.
And where are you trying to take it? What are you trying to say? And, like you were talking about in Suicide Squad, there's a character that has zero character arc.
Yeah.
He's the same all through.
However, there is a character who has a character arc in the movie, and it's a really good character arc because it goes from them being a dickhead, self-centered shithead.
Mm-hmm.
He kills the people he loves accidentally. He is so mortified and so disgusted with what he's done that he completely shuts down and says, I'm not going to do anything anymore. I'm not going to be a part of anything. I am so horribly disgusted with myself that I want nothing to do with this. And then he has a character arc where he's like, worse people than me are going to do things and I'm possibly the only one who can stop them. I need to step up, put aside my past, and do what's right. And it was an amazing character arc. It was so good. But no, he wasn't the main character. He wasn't. He was a side character. And he had one of the best character arcs in the entire movie. And it was, granted, yes, he kind of there were some things about the character that I didn't like because some of his lines were so dumb. Nobody hurts my family. What? When was this established that these people were your family? Like, you never thought of that until this one split moment right now. There was no build up to that. You're just like, they're my family. And it's like, what? What?
Oh, man. Yeah. It's just not strong writing.
No.
And bad editing. And
so
we need to move.
Yeah.
We need to move away from Suicide Squad because we're both.
Yeah. So let's get into what is the first thing you need to do when considering making a character.
That's difficult, I would say, because I think it comes in different orders for different people.
Mm-hmm.
I think character-driven stories are really important.
Yes.
As opposed to a sort of world-driven story. Like your characters are just sort of chess pieces in this grand world. Yeah. I would rather them be, again, the vehicles for the story.
And so, it's saying vehicle. A character doesn't necessarily have to be a person. A character can be a vehicle. Like the Millennium Falcon in Star Wars technically qualifies as a character. Same thing with the
Mhm.
Enterprise, because it has characteristics, limitations, and things it has to overcome. You know.
Yeah.
So just
Yeah.
we wanted to put that out there, that when we say character, we're not necessarily explicitly mean. Most of the time, yes, we're talking about people we can relate to, but a character isn't solely a person. It can also technically be a vehicle or an animal or an object.
Yeah. So
Yes.
what's the first thing you do when you are designing characters?
Um. Let's see. I Hmm. I think of a type of I go into
Mm.
the archetype list. I go off of normal archetypes, and I also kind of have my own personal types of archetypes that I like to think of when I make
Explain
characters.
quickly, explain what an archetype is for somebody who doesn't know.
Okay, so what an archetype is it is a list of, and there are like very formal lists of archetypes and very like non-formal lists of archetypes depending. There's like the mother, and the mother archetype doesn't necessarily mean that the character is a mother, but it means that they are a very nurturing, understanding, motherly type of figure in the story. There is
Right.
the watcher. I guess a really good example of like the watcher archetype is the Cheshire Cat from Alice in Wonderland, because
Oh yeah.
they're not a person who is in they the main character might um come in contact with the watcher, but the watcher archetype isn't there to actually um influence anything. They don't influence anything. They might give you a direction or might tell you something, but they'll never inherently influence something, because their whole purpose in the story is to watch and observe, because
Hmm.
it gives them pleasure, or it fascinates them. Like, because the Cheshire Cat in Alice in Wonderland, its only purpose is to give Alice a little nudge here and there. You know, like, maybe you should go down this road, maybe you should go down that road. It doesn't matter, but you can't stop, because the watcher archetype wants to see wants to the watcher archetype could also technically be a third party, where it's the reader, the story, and then the watcher archetype, because the watcher archetype technically is also a breaking the fourth wall, in a sense where it is also experienced the story as you do, and is wanting the
Hmm.
story to end, come to a conclusion, so, but actually has the ability to influence the story. What's another archetype? The knight. A knight is an archetype where this is a very valiant character, a character who is um and a lot of times, most of the time, archetypes are very two-dimensional. And it's your job as the writer to take a two-dimensional archetype and make it three-dimensional,
Mm.
because it's like a piece of paper. You have a piece of paper, and it's a two-dimensional thing, but you have the ability to draw a three-dimensional object on that two-dimensional piece of paper. The archetype is the piece of paper. The aspects that you add on to the archetype to make the character unique and original is like the very beautiful painting you draw on the piece of paper, because you're making it more interesting to look at. If you just have this one archetype, you're like, okay, great, woo, but you
Yeah.
need to add stuff to it. What's another really good archetype? The father. The father archetype literally is just a character who embodies very fatherly aspects. The father archetype can also technically be the one who pushes the the main character to aspire to be better, to go past their boundaries. Like Uncle Ben in Spider-Man, he is definitely the father archetype, because he's the one who tells Peter, even after death, tells Peter, you are it's your responsibility. If you are in charge of yourself, the only thing that you can control in life is yourself, and you need to make the right decisions. The greatest what does he say?
With great power comes
Comes
great
great
responsibility.
responsibility. And that's what the archetype, that's what the father archetype is, where it's this character who is very stern, very tough on the main character, but is not tough on them because he doesn't love them. He's tough on them because he loves them, and he wants to see them be the best that they can be.
Right.
the mother archetype, like I said before, is the very nurturing one, is the very one who, when the main character falls or has this thing, the mother archetype is there. The mother archetype also falls into the goddess archetype, where it is that
Mm.
nurturing, loving character who, when the main character falls or hits a conflict, the goddess slash mother archetype is the one who raises them back up and says, "No, you can continue. You can go on."
Mm.
Who else is there? There is the demon. The demon archetype is not necessarily a villain, but is something that the main character has to overcome in themselves. The demon is technically its own character, but sometimes can reside within another character, almost like a possession. It could also technically be the main character. It's another aspect of the main character. There is the what other archetypes? There's the orphan archetype, which is literally an orphan. Someone who I guess the orphan archetype also is technically the character who comes from nothing but is trying to make the world, is trying to gain everything,
Yeah.
trying to make their life better, even though they come from nothing. Um, got any archetypes, Shannon, that you can think of?
I don't know. I think those are fair examples. I can't quite. The only one that I think comes to mind, I don't know if this is an official one, but is like the damsel in distress.
Yeah, that's like an archetype.
Yeah.
It's the person
So,
who needs help from the hero. And
yeah.
the damsel in distress doesn't necessarily have to be a woman. It can be a man. It's a person who is in distress and requires assistance that only the hero can provide.
Yeah.
I am a damsel. I am in distress. I can handle this. Have a nice day.
So I think I get it. We take this sort of stereotype of a person
Yeah, but we make it more than
and
just a stereotype, or very more of just a shell, and we fill that shell with more interesting stuff. Like
yeah.
it's like, okay, this character is a slave. Interesting. But what makes this character unique? Like, what makes this character interesting to, okay, why are they a slave? Okay, they were stolen from their home when they were very little. And you're like, okay. Um, where did they come from? Well, this character comes from a single parent. He was living with his father because his mother died. Um, and at a young age, he was ripped away from his father and was turned into a slave. What kind of slave is he? Well, he is he a slave that works in the field? Is he a slave that works like in the house? Is he no, this character, he works in the shop. He is a, like, a sweatshop kind of person. He works, the merchant lord who bought him keeps him in the shop and he makes shoes.
Hmm.
And then, okay, so what is the person how does he feel about his job? Well, he doesn't like being a slave, but he doesn't hate necessarily that he's making shoes, because he sees that there are worse jobs that he could have, and he's pretty good at making shoes. So he is kind of he doesn't necessarily by no means is he enjoying what he's doing, but he realizes that he could have gotten it worse. Okay,
Yeah.
so what's the conflict? Well, he wants to get home. He misses his father. He misses the life he had. He wants his freedom because he was taken from his home and he was turned into a slave. Okay.
Yeah.
What is the turning point where he stands up and says, "I don't want to do this anymore. I'm going home and I'm going to do whatever it takes to get there." I don't know. I can't think of anything off the top of my head right now.
Yeah.
But, like, then you just keep building onto it and building onto it, building onto it. Now, in the saying that, please do not make these characters special snowflakes. Like me and Shannon before, we were talking about, like, hi, my name's Wicker Basket, and I'm the mundane girl, and
The
I'm
7 forms of combat
yeah,
and
I know. So
speak
27
tempo.
forms of combat. We got
I'm
that from
half
there's a comic.
Armenian.
There's a mini comic on Facebook by a artist who did a comic like that, but he was right. He was so true, because nowadays there's so many like Mary Sue snowflake characters that in an
Hmm.
attempt to make them unique and interesting, they give them all these like really like, wow, isn't that different? And it's like, yeah, but now it's just they're just ugh, you know. I'm
I have
blind
one
in one
blue
of
eye,
my
one
eyes.
green eye.
Yeah, I have a blue eye and a green eye. For the sake of having a blue eye and a green eye, like there's nothing there it's just for the sake of having it.
I think what we're talking about primarily is instead of giving that character actual traits of a human, you just give them weird physical attributes
Yeah.
or a strange name or
Yeah. I'm the prince of, Lithuania, but I work, in a coffee shop, and I've got one foot that's bigger than the other, and I'm not as attractive as the other girls, but I'm beautiful in my own way. It's like, okay, awesome, but
the prince is
what?
not as pretty as the other
Yeah, I'm
girls.
not as pretty as the other girls, but it's like, and I'm gonna say this. We're gonna bring this back up again, but like
Yeah.
Bella Swan. What is so interesting about her? Well, she's got this thing where vampires' powers don't work on her. Okay, but why? Oh, she just does. Oh,
Yeah,
they'll
you have to
ham-fisted to make her special, and you're just like that. But that's the only thing. That's the only thing.
you have to consider the personality traits and how they drive the story. But then, the story needs to be driven by the character's motivation. And like Connor was talking about a little bit ago about what is he, with the example of the slave character, what is his greatest desire? To get home. And that's how you compose tension and conflict in a story is you give that character a number one desire and then you put obstacles in their way to
Yeah.
getting into that um getting to that desire. And the whole thing with the in Twilight, the powers can't affect her. That's not an obstacle, and that's not something that
What obstacle
adds.
does she have? Someone wants to kill her. Okay, great. But
Everybody wants to kill her.
yeah, but it's they want to kill her for the sake of killing her.
Yeah.
There's no reason. It's just, oh, you're involved. You're the main character. Well, I need to kill you now. It's like, but why?
Here's the thing about that character, the character of Bella. The world happens to her.
Yeah,
She doesn't happen to the world.
yeah,
And if it's her story, if she is the primary vehicle for carrying this story from point A to point B,
yep,
it doesn't need to be her on this wild roller coaster ride through the supernatural and everyone just hates her and loves her and wants to kill her and kidnaps her and doesn't kidnap her and doesn't kill her. It's
you didn't
she's
kidnap
got to
her. I
have
didn't kidnap
she's got
her.
to push back
Yeah,
somehow with
she's
her personality,
yeah,
with her character traits. And what is her greatest desire? And I just got to say obsessive love for someone else is not the greatest desire for carrying a story.
yeah,
And I think particularly with that story, too much was added in with too weak a vehicle to carry
yeah.
this plot, this elaborate plot of vampire armies and royal families because it doesn't go anywhere with
'Cause it all revolves around this one romance.
yeah.
It's this one little minuscule romance, and yet armies and legions are being amassed for this one little minuscule romance. And it's like, but why? Why
And
does everyone give a damn?
I know every 17-year-old feels like their relationship shifts the world like that.
I
But
just
I gotta tell
uh, but like with the character of and another thing, when writing stories about characters, don't let them pull something out of their ass. Never have the
you,
character pull something out of their ass. Let the odds pull something out of their ass. Let fate pull something, because that's how the world works.
yeah.
As a reader, we will believe the enemy, the bad guy, the villain, regardless if the villain is the world itself or one in particular person manages to pull something out of their ass. we're going to be able to believe that because that's one more conflict, and that's a conflict that the main character did not see coming. But the main character's like, oh, this entire time I had a magical flying carpet, we're going to fly. And it's like, great, now there's no more. Okay, so we're going to get a lot of tension for this. And probably people are going to fucking lose their shit. But when it comes to Doctor Who.
Oh, I'm not familiar with Doctor Who at all, so you take this.
Okay. When it comes to Doctor Who, many times, and my sister loves the show, and I've watched a few episodes, and the things that kind of get me a little angry about Doctor Who is he can manage to solve his problems within 30 minutes, and they have a sense of conflict, and then at the very end he's like, oh, I just solved it with my sonic screwdriver, and it's like, okay, great.
What?
Oh, ooh. And I'm not, okay, no, I'm not saying that's every single episode, but there are a lot of episodes that are like that, and it makes me angry because I'm like, why didn't you just do that to begin? Like, what? If you could just snap your fingers and everything goes right, then what the fuck was the conflict about? For the sake of having a conflict? Because you were bored? Like, no, like, now, if a villain can do that, yes, it's something different because it's unexpected, and it's the villain, you're like, oh no, the villain just, there's a second Death Star, it's like, it's that sense of, but if like Luke Skywalker's like, oh, you chopped my hand off with my lightsaber. Oh, I have another lightsaber. It's like, but where?
I have another hand.
I have another hand. But where did that come from? It's so unbelievable when the hero does it, but it's not unbelievable when the villain does it. And if you
when the villain does it, it's a bigger obstacle.
Exactly, because it's something if the hero the entire time is like, okay, this is what I got to plan for. This is what I know it's going to happen. And you're with the hero and you're like, okay, he's got everything. He's prepared everything, and then he gets there and the biggest motherfucking curveball is thrown at him. You're like, you and the character are like, shit, what do? I did not plan for this. I have no way to handle this. And now the risk goes even higher, but when the main character is just like, and the problem is solved with the snap of my fingers, it's like, then why was there a conflict? Why was there a problem if you could just, and it's all gone?
Yeah, dude, my least favorite character archetype is the rich boyfriend that fixes everything.
Yes, I hate that. However, it can be done right if the rich boyfriend who can quote unquote fix everything.
I don't know about that.
And it's him doing, but listen. So it's the rich boyfriend who can quote unquote fix everything, and as the story progresses, it starts the things that are being fixed are starting to pile up in the background like a floodgate. And at the very end, everything that has been fixed has not truly been fixed.
Gotcha.
And it breaks free, and now the rich boyfriend who can quote unquote fix everything is the reason why everything is going bad. You get what I'm saying? So you can take a bad archetype and make them interesting. But you have to keep going from that bad archetype. You got to make that archetype from 2-dimensional, 3-dimensional.
I am specifically talking about, we talked about it a few weeks ago, but I read this supposedly modern day version of Beauty and the Beast.
Beauty and the Beast.
Do you remember me talking about this?
Yeah, how he can fix everything, and he's like, oh, your friend with leukemia? Problem solved, 30 minutes in.
Yeah, it's like Belle's friend is diagnosed with breast cancer, and you're like, okay, this is actually, because it's a
it's a really fucked up situation.
Beauty and the Beast, they got to add more stuff.
Yeah.
And okay, Belle's best friend has breast cancer, and I'm telling you, within like 20 pages, the Beast character, and I'm putting that in quotes because he's not even a beast, he's just like a guy that has like a scar on his face.
Ooh.
Is like, I'm gonna fly your friend to New York City, buy her an apartment, give her a full-time job, and pay for all her medical care.
Wow.
And it's like, do you know how much money that would be?
Yeah. It's okay. I have plot money. It never runs out.
I need that on a t-shirt.
Ooh, we should also talk about plot armor.
Plot armor?
Yeah. You know what plot armor is?
I'm mostly thinking about your engagement gauntlet that we were talking about before.
No, yes, there was a small thing where I was talking about when I get married to my boyfriend. Instead of getting a ring, I want him to get me like a gauntlet, and then so an engagement gauntlet. And when he marries me, another gauntlet for my other hand. And every anniversary, it's another piece of armor until finally I'm completely adorned in like a suit of armor. And like our 50th anniversary, I'll get like a sword or some shit. I don't know.
By the time you guys are like 25 years into your marriage, you're
Yeah.
gonna be like a Power Ranger team that can
Yeah.
assemble together.
Fuck yeah! Like my kids got armor and shit.
You and your
Uh,
kids will assemble to make one giant robot
yeah.
fighting creature thing. Um. Anyway, I'm sorry. What were you were talking about?
Talking about
Plot
plot
armor.
armor. So plot armor can be done right and it can be done wrong, and a lot of times it's done wrong. What if you don't know what plot armor is? Plot armor is when, oh gosh, it's when everything goes wrong, but the main character is completely unscathed, and you're just like, what the fuck? Like,
Oh my
okay,
gosh.
oh gosh, what was it? The third Transformers movie, I think, yeah,
I have not seen it.
where the main the what is it the main female lead, who was just that Victoria's Secret model who got to be the main female lead. The entire movie, she is completely and utterly unscathed. Everyone else is like
What?
fucked up. Like they have dirt, blood, their clothes are ripped up, and the only thing that's wrong with her, she's a little flustered. Even though she skid down the side of a building, or as a building was falling over, she was like sliding on the ground with broken glass and dirt, and she stands up and her dress is still as white as it was, and she's just a little flustered. That's plot armor.
What?
That's when the character, that's when someone opens up a full magazine of like a Mac gun, point blank range at the main character, and they're completely unscathed, and they're just like, he's completely unscathed, and it's like, how? That doesn't make sense. And it's like, well, because he needs to get to this part of the plot, and if this conflict happens, then it will kill him. But we're gonna have the conflict happen anyway, but him be completely fine. And it's like, then what's the point of having the conflict?
This is sort of related, but it's not quite the same. It really bothers me that in The Walking Dead, all the women are shaved.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
We live out in the woods, and
Like
but
in
my
the
legs are
zombie
shaved.
apocalypse, you found a way to shave your legs and armpits. I barely do that in normal
I mean,
modern day
they do have
life.
knives. They do have knives, and a knife could work.
Yeah, but seriously, if you're in survival mode, are you really gonna take the time to shave your armpits?
Probably not.
No, probably not.
Yeah. I have
And
sandpaper on the inside of my pants. I line my pants with rubber, so when I walk, it rips the hairs out.
oh my god, that would hurt so badly.
Side story: in high school, I used to have these work boots that I would wear, and when I
Hmm.
was when I was working on the farm, and they would rub up against my leg in a very specific place to where I had this little square patch of on my leg that didn't have any hair on it, because the boot would rub the hair away. And people would be like, "Why do you shave that little square?" And I'm like, "I don't. It's my work boots, and they rub that little they continuously rub on that part of my body, and it pulls all the little hairs out." And they're
Oh
like,
god.
"Oh, okay," but everyone's like, "Why do you shave right there?" I'm like, "I don't. It's my fucking boots." Oh, but no,
You
back
should have
onto
just followed it.
the.
You should have been like, "It's my aesthetic. Don't
It's my
question it."
aesthetic. I'm a robot. That's where my barcode is. You have to use it with. We're gonna need lemons and a hair dryer
Black light.
and a black light. I used to tell kids whenever you know, they'd be like, "Whoa," and I'd be like, "Yeah, I have robotic prosthetic limbs," and they're like, "What are you talking about?" I'm like, "Yeah, do you hear this?" Like, and I could pop one of my joints in my arm, and I'd be like, "You hear that? That's the limb like adjusting," and they're like, "Whoa, you're a robot!" I'm like, "Yep, that's right, I'm a robot."
Oh my god.
But let's get back
A
to the
complete.
plot armor shit.
I don't know why your story reminded me of. Oh, I remember now. Devin, my roommate during the summer. You remember Devin? Yes, no.
Wait, Devin, the
Do you
one who just
remember
got married?
Devin? Yeah.
Yeah, of course I remember Devin.
Okay. I just wasn't. Oh, I didn't know if you knew, or were keeping up. But she would always tell me about her dad was in the army, and he had a similar thing where he had these army boots that he had to wear while he was in the military,
Mm-hmm.
and now he has these like sections of his legs that don't have any hair, and it's like this super this like thing he's self-conscious about. But yeah, congratulations to Devin and Sam on getting married.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Oh my
Yay.
gosh. It's so
It's so
interesting.
they're my first like friends my age to be married. Well, okay, Connor's looking at me with opera glasses.
I forgot I had these.
Oh my gosh.
I'm gonna bring them to
But
class.
yeah, it's really weird that people our age are starting to get
I
married
know.
because
Getting pregnant and having kids. Well, people were already getting pregnant and having kids in high school, but you know.
let's make a pact, Connor. Let's you and I both not get pregnant till we're ready.
Yeah. Ooh. I'm not having. I'm adopting children. That's what I'm doing. I'm gonna
Oh, really?
adopt the little orphan kid. I'm gonna adopt my little personal little Dick Grayson. I'm gonna raise him. He's my little cinnamon bun. I love Dick Grayson,
Aww.
and he's one of my in the Batman. I love Batman, but one of my favorite characters in Batman is Dick Grayson because he just wants a family. You know, he just wants to be loved. And Bruce Wayne is his dad, and Batman is his dad, and he has two dads.
Oh, hey, speaking of two dads and babies and all that,
Yeah.
tell your announcement.
Oh, that's right. Yay. So, okay, we talked about how I had three little basil plants that I was growing and I love them. And now we're going to be having some tomatoes and some watermelons and some strawberries and some zucchini. Yay.
Yay!
We
Connor
haven't
and his
named them
boyfriend
yet.
have
Yeah, we have little plant babies.
plant.
We have a puppy now.
Is he officially yours forever?
Yeah, he's officially ours forever. We can't get rid of him. We got a blood pact.
Oh my
His
gosh.
name's Buddy, and
I'm
he's
so
really cute. He's very adventurous. He doesn't like playing. He likes exploring.
so cute.
Yeah. We want to get him a little like African safari clothes or like a little like frontiersman clothes. So adorable. So let's get back to the plot stuff. We always get on tangents. Let's get
We
back on
got
the plot
lost.
stuff. Um, but
We're talking about character development. Okay, so
yeah,
first thing we do, pick an archetype, build off that archetype.
yeah.
When you are developing a character, do you usually start with the characters and then build the story off them, or do you have a story and then you make your characters for that story?
I okay. So I kind of go. So what I do is I have a world. I
Okay.
create a world and I create a setting. And I create the lore and I create like a very base kind of lore and I create a very like um and I'll do it. I'll either do it this way or I'll do it in reverse. But I'll create
Mhm.
lore and like a setting, and then I'm like, okay, now who is the main character? What is a story I want to tell within this main character? Oh, what is the story I want to tell? So I create the world. I create the story I want to tell, or vice versa. And then I'm like, okay, now who's the main character? What stakes does this character have in this world? You know, and there's a story I'm currently working on called Dyson, and it is a kind of like a science fiction retelling of World War II,
Hmm.
and it takes place. I'll give you a little rundown just so I can give you an example of what I do. So it's in space. It's hundreds and hundreds of years after it's hundreds like a few hundred years like from now and stuff like that. Humans came in the first species of alien that humans came in contact were friendly. Humans became extremely the relationships between these humans were or between humans and this alien race was amazing, and they were sharing technologies and whatever, and then one day the humans get a message from them saying, we don't know how much longer we're going to be around anymore. There's a rogue planetoid barreling towards our planet, and it's going to destroy our planet, and not everyone's going to be able to survive. We're probably all going to die. And
Wow.
Earth is like, nope, you're our friends. We're going to help you. And Earth goes and saves what they can. And from the remnants of the two planets, the rogue planet and the normal planet of the aliens, they collapse, and there's just all this matter everywhere. So
Mhm.
Earthlings and these aliens are like, well, why don't we just construct a planet from the remnants of the old one? So they create a Dyson sphere, and if you don't know what a Dyson sphere is, a Dyson sphere is a it's like a planet, but it's hollow, and it can be one of two things. It either envelops a sun or it envelops a like an artificial core of like a planet. So they create a Dyson sphere, and on the inside of the Dyson sphere is and you inhabit the outside and on the inside too. So the inside of the Dyson sphere is literally just an inverted planet. So instead of a horizon that wraps around, it's a horizon that wraps up. So if you look up, you can see the other side of the quote unquote planet because it's above you.
Whoa.
But however, on the outside of the planet, it acts like a normal planet because it's also a sphere. So the inside of the planet is completely just for civil, and that's where civilians live and whatsoever. And on the outside of the planet, it's where the military performs their kind of stuff. The outside of the planet is a lot more hostile because it's more simulated environments that take that can be found all around the universe, so that they can train their soldiers a certain type of way. And this planet is known as Dyson. And Dyson goes down. It's kind of like the America of outer space, where it's like all of these different species of alien are now starting to flock to this one planet because it is really big, and it is just this. It's this artificial kind of beacon of hope, and Dyson goes there because Dyson becomes this place where it's all of these aliens coming together. It becomes just epicenter of just advancement and like stuff, and they're creating technologies that are more advanced than other races. Not that advanced, but definitely a little more of a jump start. And the part of it where it comes into where World War II kind of happens is Earth is starting to get into a fight with another alien race, and the alien race and Earth is like, and Dyson's like, we don't want an involvement. We don't want to get involved. We're still pretty young. We just don't want to get involved. And Earth is like, okay, but at least, the very least, like, send us some help, kind of like how Britain was to America during World War II. And then this other race of aliens attacks Dyson because they're just like, well, if we get the upper hand, we can steal some of their technology, and then we can have the upper hand in the war. Dyson fights back, and then Dyson's like, all right, fine, if you want us in this war so bad, we're going to jump into this war, and all this shit happens. The main character is a part of a team of very advanced, very sophisticated pilots. Oh, it's him and another pilot. He's a pilot, and it's another pilot, and then there is a grounds like a foot soldier kind of guy, but he's good with more ground-based vehicles. And then this one chick who is she's the way the character is, she's pretty cool. She's just like a cyborg kind of, because when she was younger she had an uncurable disease, and the only way they could save her is they had to transplant her brain into like a robot body, because the disease she has, there was no like feasible cure. So she's like very, very, so she's kind of like the covert, she's like good with like computers and whatever, but they're a part of a team, and they are a attack force, and they are going around and fighting in this war. And the main character that's involving around, he doesn't want to fight in the war because he's afraid that he's going to die, and he's going to leave his significant other and his child alone, and he doesn't want to do that. That is what he fears. He has no problem being a soldier. His only fear is that he's not going to live long enough to the end of the war to see his family. His wingman, the pilot guy, he's trying to find something to fight for. He doesn't have anything to fight for besides being a soldier. He's like, all I am is a soldier. I have my planet to fight for, but it's starting to not be enough. I don't have that push. He's like, you have your family to go home and see. I don't have that. I'm just a soldier. When it's not, what do I do when the war is over? What do I go back to? I don't have anything to go back to. All I am is a soldier. He's trying to find something to fight for that isn't just his planet. Yeah. The woman in the party is trying to come to terms with herself that she is more than just a machine. She has she isn't just this person who she isn't just this killing machine. She isn't just this, just this computer with a human brain. She's more than that. And it's not that people don't think that she isn't. It's that she doesn't think that she's more than that. And she's trying to come to terms with this. And she's trying to be like, I'm more than just this, cyborg. I am human. I do have these human emotions, and I need to stop, suppressing them. I need to actually embrace the fact that I'm, human first, cyborg second. And then the third guy in the party, he is just I'm still trying to develop his character, but he does end up becoming the romantic partner of the female character. They do fall in love, and he is one of the pinnacle aspects of showing her that you're more than just a cyborg. And she's a cyborg. She's completely incapable of having sex and having, reproducing. She's literally just a pretty face on a robot body. She has like synthetic skin, but she can't reproduce. She can't she has no sexual organs, so she can't have sex. And he pretty much is, his whole character is, I don't care that I can't reproduce with you. I don't care that I can't have sex with you. That's not what I'm here for. He's like, even though he's a soldier, they're both soldiers. He's like, he pretty much tells her, I love you for who you are. I know. He's like, you're not just a cyborg. You're more than that, and you're more than that to me. What his I need to find more of like a character arc for him, because I'm still working on his character. But that's definitely one of the biggest roles he plays. Is he is one of the biggest thing that helps show her that you're more than what you think you are.
Yeah. But the point of his character is not just purely to tell her that. Like he you're saying
something more.
I'm
trying to figure out what I want to make him. And I'm like, what else do I add to his character that where he's not just baggage for her, that he has his own things that he has to overcome. And I'm trying to figure that out.
I guess you would have to figure out what his greatest desire is.
Yeah, I have to still figure out what his greatest desire is.
What's his ultimate goal? And as you figure that out, the way he tries to achieve that goal is what shapes his character. And if his ultimate goal is to make sure she knows how great she is, I would add to that, something like he stands for humanity, or he's
the sliver of hope that he is this person, and he's not just this cold-blooded soldier. He is that moral, he's that when you're on the battlefield, he's that character who I think he's definitely going to be the character where, when other characters are having this emotional problem and they don't know how to handle it, he's definitely that person they can go to and be like, what do I do? And he just tells them straight up, and he's that thing they can lean on, and he's that moral support, he's that sliver of sanity that they need,
Yeah.
But I still need a little bit more for him. I have
so maybe he's like the embodiment of the good humanity.
The good that's still left, even in a war zone. He's the sliver of hope, to the person who doesn't feel they're like to the person who doesn't feel like they're going to live long enough to see their family, to the person who doesn't know what more that they are than just a machine, and the person who doesn't know what more that they are than just a cold-blooded soldier.
Gotcha. Okay. Yeah. So they're all in a way seeking their own humanity.
Exactly.
That seems like a real theme to this story, and I mean, especially using the device of war.
Yeah.
As a setting, that's pretty strong.
Yeah, and the captain of the ship, she's her own character. She's not necessarily a main character, but she's definitely a character in herself. And her whole thing is, she wants to make a statement. Her whole thing is, she's not a cold-blooded killer. She's not that kind of person who's like, I'm going to kill everyone in my way, and I'm going to kill all the bad guys. But she's definitely the kind of person where if someone challenges me, I'm going to make an example out of them, and I'm going to show the rest of the universe that you don't want to fuck with us. And she is definitely this very just, she's a very loving character, she loves her crew. She loves everyone that, she cares for everyone on her, on her ship. But she's willing to sacrifice herself and everyone on her ship to make the world a better place.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah. I have another story that I'm working on. It's called Reality at 3, and it's a little bit more of like I think a spiritual-esque thing. It's about two brothers who, back in like the 1800s, they're born in the 1800s, and they soon realize that they have pretty much omnipotent power. However, the only thing they can't do is they can't manipulate time, and they can't manipulate death. If someone dies, they cannot bring them back, and they cannot manipulate time. But everything else, they pretty much have complete and total control over. They can heal people, they can cure disease, they can fly, they can like displace matter, they can shift, they can change their image. And they don't die. They have lived for about 100. Like so, it like they were born in the 1800s. And then they both fall in love, and the people they fall in love with, they die in a horrible accident.
Oh no.
And one of the brothers, the brother who was, and they're twins, and one is the one brother who was very reserved and very calm and very he was the more
quiet.
Yeah, the more quiet of the two. He loses it. He goes batshit crazy, and he starts like offing people left and right, and he goes on like a full rage, and the other brother has to reel him in and be like, yes, they're dead, but going around, wrecking shit isn't going to bring them back.
Right.
So they go into hiding for 100 years, and they come back, and no one remembers them. And even when people did know they were around, it was only a few people here and there, so no one even knew that the world had no idea that these people exist. And then 100 years later, there is an event where they are forced to reveal themselves, unknowing, like the world forces them to reveal themselves, not wanting them to reveal themselves, but what the world does, the brothers have no choice but to reveal themselves, and the world is like, holy crap, who are you guys? And they become, pretty much like Superman-esque type of celebrities where everyone's like, yeah. And then the brother who is the more headstrong gets so wrapped up in that celebrity status where he starts to become more of like a villain, and he starts being more of like he becomes more self-centered, and he becomes more of this like, what, the world does need me, like without me, like they better be glad that I'm around because I'm fixing all their problems. And the other brother, the one who lost his shit in the past, is like, no, we're only supposed to be here to fix things that they can't fix, like we're not supposed to. And then they realize that there is a third one, there is a third version. And it was actually because after the world realizes who they are, an organization makes a clone takes the DNA of both of them, manages to get the DNA of both of them, and makes a clone. And however, there are three. There is a Mark I, which dies, and then there's a Mark II that gets loose, and that's what brings that to the brothers' attention, to the two main characters' attention, that holy shit, this thing has powers like us. Why does it have powers like us, and why is it around? But when they confront it, it dies. Because it's like it falls apart and it just decomposes and stuff, because the process to use to make it wasn't complete. And it wasn't finished. And then the third one manages to get past the point it needs to get past, so they can finish it so it won't die, but it isn't fully finished quite yet, and manages to escape to where the brothers find it and try to manipulate it and create and make it into another version of themselves. Like they try to guide it and teach it and whatever. And it the more headstrong brother ends up manipulating it to the point to where it goes kind of crazy and starts to kill people, and both brothers have to um, they have to kill it, and when they do kill it, they realize that is the moment they realize that the only way they can die is if one of them kills the other.
Oh wow.
Because when they kill the third one, they both feel it in themselves that like they've just like kind of like Voldemort destroying a Horcrux.
Yeah.
It he feels that a part of himself has been destroyed. And
Hmm.
granted, it was a clone. It's only they don't. It's not necessarily a part of themselves has been destroyed, but they feel that they finally realize, holy shit, what we've just felt is a kind of like a what is to come of what would happen if we did kill one another, you know. And one brother thinks, oh, we can only kill each other. The other brother
Yeah.
thinks that if one of us kills the other, then the one who killed the other will also die.
Oh.
Because the one brother thinks, oh, we just have the ability to kill one another, and the other brother, the less headstrong brother, thinks if he kills me, then he will die as well because he is incapable of living without me, because he
Hmm.
realizes that that's what they felt when they killed the third one. And then later on in the story, the third one comes back but finished and is starting to call himself Adonai, which is another version of God. Another
Hmm.
word to refer to himself as God. And the two brothers have to come to conflict with this character, and they have to fight him. And they kill him, but in doing so, they wreck the planet. Everyone pretty much dies on the planet because what Adonai is doing is literally he's like, "Oh, you're going to fight me." Because what Adonai wants to do is he believes I came from nothing and it is my duty to return everything to nothingness, because he wants to get back at the human race, because he's like, I'm not supposed to exist. I'm a clone. I'm an abomination, and I'm angry that they made me exist. They gave me life, and they made me experience pain and remorse, and now I want my revenge, and I'm going to make them, just go away, and then I'm going to reforge the universe in my image without pain, without remorse, so that I won't feel pain. And then, so he's doing this, and in fighting, when they fight him, he's manipulating them and making it so that everything that they do is still killing people left and right, because it's just this, war of gods. And then at the end, when they kill Adonai, the good brother starts to realize that his brother is like, no, we can reforge the universe. We're going to make it in our own image. And when that brother starts having it, the good brother um, snaps again for the second time, kills his brother, and kills himself in the act. But from them dying, it restarts the cycle of the earth and life comes back.
Hmm.
Yeah.
That's heavy.
Yeah, but like the plot of the
But
story is like it's the plot of the story is really to like show like, you know when you have absolute power, what do you do with it? What makes you the
yeah.
hero? What makes you the villain?
Yeah. I think the most interesting part of it, well, I don't know if that's the most interesting part, but the part that's really standing out to me right now is um these are identical twins,
They're
correct?
identical twins. Yes.
Yeah, so their DNA is exactly the same. And so if there's a clone, no matter which of the two's DNA it took, it's both of them.
Yeah.
And I think that's a really cool aspect of it. Also speaks to the the idea of nature versus nurture.
Mm-hmm.
These are two different people with the exact same DNA, and they're different though. And how does this third person come in when it has the same DNA of two people
Mm-hmm.
and becomes his own person?
Mm-hmm.
That's a really interesting
Yeah. That's kind of why he
character
goes
aspect
crazy,
to the
because
genre.
he's like, I have the feelings of both of them. I have the wants and desires of both of them, but their wants and desires conflict with one another. What am I supposed to do? I can't be both of them because they are individuals. They're their own person, and their wants and desires are not the same. But I have both of those wants and desires in myself. That's why he goes crazy, because he's like, I can't handle this. I can't, so he reverts back to just this animalistic, just based solely off of, just instinct of, I have to just, he goes crazy. So do you have any stories that you're working on?
Well, the one I read today was the one I've been working on. I'm trying to think of longer stories. My short story I read a few weeks ago, I actually have been writing more of it, and it hasn't been like I'm going to continue this. It was more of just naturally these ideas for scenes came to me, and these are character types that I have met personally in real life. So August, who's the protagonist in the short story before, he's this very much a very typical Nashville 20-something.
Yeah.
He is a musician. It's really hard to pin him down. He knows what he likes, but he just kind of floats around, and he's very much constantly like, he lives with his parents, but he's trying to be his own individual adult, and he needs to grow up.
Yeah.
Whereas, I mean, he's like 25, 26, whereas Luke, who is the love interest, is 17. But he's already so much more grown up than August. And he has the weight of bullying to deal with. And I created this environment of school based off of the school I went to growing up, which is a K through 12, very small conservative Christian school where everybody just sort of assumes everything about one another without finding out, because you have been around each other for so long. You just feel like you should know by now. And so he gets bullied a lot, even though he's this unique and beautiful spirit. And August sees that in him because he's mature enough, or old enough, I guess, to recognize the value in that, as opposed to the difference. That's all. I mean, I just keep thinking about their characters so much, and that's how my character development works. Is I feel these personalities and these people, and I kind of mesh them and mold them, and they lead me to write the story. They, you hear a lot of writers talk about the characters told me the story, and kind of funny, but it's actually kind of true. You want to go one way with it, but you think they wouldn't do that.
Yeah.
That's not how
what would they do? Yes, I want the story to go this way, but okay, the story is going to go this way, but how would they react? How would they be like, whoa, what's going on? Yeah, definitely. Because you're essentially, you're making a person. You're making a actual, if you do it right and you make a 3-dimensional person, you make a character who is, they have the potential to be a living, breathing person with, because you just, that's how it's a, that's how it's a good character when, they're starting to speak, not like, you're not like hearing voices in your head, but
I'm not.
Yeah, but you're definitely like, okay, what would so and so do in this point? How would they feel? Does this sound right?
Yeah, exactly. And in the end, it should create what's called a suspension of disbelief, which means you feel like you are there. You feel like this is a real thing, really happening.
Like Harry Potter, you know that's not real. None of this is real, but you're so invested in the story, like you're actually there, like these people, like you're like, yes, I know Wingardium Leviosa, of course I do, but because you're so invested in that story and you're so invested in that world, and you don't care that it's fake, because in that moment, to you, it's real. All of it's real,
Yeah, it's the thing that makes you angry or upset when characters die. It's the thing that makes you root for two characters to get together. That makes you frustrated and emotionally invested in it. Because if you just are reading it, you're like, this isn't real.
Yeah.
If it's not believable, you're not gonna feel anything while you're reading it. So it's got to take you on an emotional journey.
And when, in the sense of saying it's not believable, fiction, science fiction, high fantasy, that's not, none of that's real, but it can be believable. But the thing that makes it unbelievable is sometimes some of the most tiniest things, like how characters react or what characters do. That's can what make a person be like, this is so unbelievable. You know, I don't care that they're flying faster than the speed of light on a spaceship. So and so would never do this. Like Captain Kirk would never say that. You know, that's what, you know, this isn't real. Like, that's what makes it unbelievable, is when you break the norm of what you've said. You know, when you've instituted something that completely goes against everything you've worked for. You know?
What you've established suddenly is gone.
Like Harry Potter being like, aha, Voldemort, you can counter all of my spells, but can you counter a bullet? And he like pulls out a handgun. You're like, what?
I was literally about to say Harry Potter pulls out a gun.
Yeah. You're just like, where? What? Like, that's what makes it unbelievable. Even though that is one of, guns are real, you know?
Yeah.
Someone in danger would probably pull out a gun, but Harry Potter pulling out a gun is so unbelievable. You know? Because you've set up this, you know, this world of whatever. There's another story I'm working on that's a lot more not set in a fantasy or fiction. And it's about a character, and I like this one. It's one of my feel-good stories that I work on whenever I feel bad. I usually go and I confront, like, and I, you know, I think to myself, what would this character do, and how would this character feel? And it's a character who, he works in a flower. He moves to the big city, and he moves in with a family member, like a brother. And the brother works at a radio station. He's like a radio talk show host or whatever. And the brother is, he's a really good singer. I mean, the main character, he's a really good singer. And but he doesn't take it. You know, he doesn't, you know, try. He like sings in the shower and he sings to himself. But he gets a job at a flower shop, and he meets a guy. And they, quote unquote, you know, they date and they fall in love. And the guy turns out to be a total asshole, and a chain puller, and just an all-around bad guy. And they break up on really bad terms. And the one thing that the main character does is the breakup, it hurts him, but it also gives him the confidence to go and sing in front of a group of people. And he goes to his brother and he's like, hey, can I, when you guys aren't recording your radio show, do you think I can record a song in the radio state, like in the sound room? And they're like, yeah. So he records a song, and it's really good. And they send it in, and like, I'm not gonna say overnight, but really quickly he starts to rise to the ranks of popularity. And he wears a mask when he performs, because he doesn't want the person who broke his heart to know who he is. So he wears a mask, and everyone thinks he's this persona on stage. You know, he's this artist and whatever. And they're like, wow, he's amazing. But at the end of the day, he still goes and he works at the flower shop, and he still, you know, does all this stuff. And he meets another guy, and this other guy, you know, is very reserved, and he's very, you know, gentle. He's very, like, you know, kind, and they take it much slower, and they fall in love. And the other guy that he falls in love with, he's facing the problem where he's gay and his family doesn't know it. And one day he slips up and they find out that he's gay, and they treat him horrible and they kick him out of the house and do all this horrible shit. And he ends up moving in with the main character. And the main character, it forces them to start, you know, and I'm not saying like it doesn't force them into like, oh, we love each other, but no, but it really forces them to think like, wow, you know, maybe we really do love each other, maybe we, you know, and it's they start thinking of they no longer think of the relationship as, oh, lovey-dovey, kissy-wissy, but they think of it as like, this is going to be hard work, and if we want this to work out, we're going to have to work really hard for it. And the last part of the the like one of the, you know, big crescendos of the story is when he truly realizes that he loves this new guy and he wants to be with them. He finally has the courage to, when he is performing, to take the mask off. And when he does, everyone's like, yay! But the person that broke his heart originally sees it and is like, now I want revenge. Like, how dare you? You know, like...
Oh.
Yeah.
I was thinking he'd be like, oh, you're famous now, I want you back.
Well, yeah, it is like that. He is like, I want you back, but that's his cover-up. He wants revenge. He wants to beat this person down. Because he's not doing better. He's not doing any better now that they broke up. But now that he sees the other person is doing better, he's like, no, that's not fair. You know, if I'm suffering, you have to suffer too. Yeah. And that's where the story is right now. I haven't worked on anything more than that. But yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, I like that. And one of my favorite, I'm very, very picky about romances. A lot of times I don't like them because they're just so overdone.
I get it, Shannon. I understand.
But what I'm saying is one of my favorite kinds of romances is slow burn romances. Kind of like that, where it's like these two people, they meet, they have this attraction, and it's sort of...
It's just natural.
It's not just about that.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's also, the story's not just about the fact that they love each other. Yeah. It's just one line like of plot through this intricate plot, and they not necessarily every time are fighting it, but maybe there's a lot of reasoning where it's like, no, this isn't going to happen, he doesn't like me like that, or we can't be together,
this is just a one thing, and then they realize, well, maybe it's more than just, you know, just this little thing. You're like, maybe, and then it's like, maybe, you know, maybe I actually do love this person, you know, and
yeah,
maybe I am willing to make the sacrifice of being with this person, you know.
There's few reading rewards that are more exciting than when you've been rooting for a whole book for two people to get together, and then they get together.
And you're like, yeah!
Favorite, like, reading sensations. I don't know how else to put it, but just like, you know, you go through a lot of experiences through reading, and that's one of my favorites. I have so many memories of different books and where I was when I was like, yeah!
It's like Star Wars with Han Solo and Leia, where, you know, throughout the first movie and the half of the second movie, they're just bitching and just, you know, treating each other like shit. But in this, you know, near the end of the second movie, when Han's in Carbonite and Princess Leia tells him, I love you, and the only thing he responds with is, I know. It was so like a gut blow, because you're like, he knows that she loves that she loves him, even though they've been bitching and treating each other like shit this entire time. Like, yeah. Holy crap! You know, that's so. And that wasn't even. I don't even think that was scripted. I think Harrison Ford came up with that line his own, and I'm like, that's genius. It's so.
He did. Like, I saw a documentary with the director. The original line was "I love you too."
Yeah.
And I think everyone was kind of like, no, I don't like that. That's not very Han. And that's another thing. It doesn't feel like that character, so it doesn't make that moment have that punch, because you're like, that's not something he would say.
Yeah.
And it also, the I know goes really well with, he has a series throughout the movies of being like, you like me, you know you like me, princess, you like me. And she's like, no, I don't. And the fact that he's like, I know. It's like,
I know you love me.
It's perfect.
Yeah. Even though they're these characters, they have more conflict than Luke has with Vader. There was more conflict between Han and Leia in the entire movie than any other, you know, people who are at odds with one another. But they're the most in love, you know, and they care about each other so much, you know, because they're both these hot-headed, high-strung characters who I'm going to do it my way, and you're not going to get in the way of that. And they're like, well, oh, you can't do it your way because I'm going to do it my way. And then, that's where their problem comes from. But in doing that, they love it. It's like those two people who are cussing each other out, and then a second later they're making out, and you're just like, whoa, where did that come from? That's just how their characters are. And it's great because it's just like, they love each other. And I mean, The Force Awakens, where they're not together anymore, and I'm just like, no, why?
That's stupid.
I'm like, oh, no. Why'd they break up? Oh, because our son became a Sith Lord. What? I'm breaking up with you because our son's a drug addict. It's like, what? Like, come on. If anything,
but I mean,
that type of together.
That type of romance is what's called a hot-cold romance. And I go back and forth on those. I mean, some of them, if it's written the right way, and you're like, there they go again, why don't they just confess they love each other?
Yeah.
It's a lot of fun. But then sometimes where it's like, too ongoing. It's too long of, guys, we already know you love each other.
Yeah.
Like, stop. Just
the
stop.
honeymoon's over. We get it.
Yeah.
Like, then we're gonna go back to fucking Twilight, where it's like, I love you, Edward. I love you, Bella. And it's like, wow, hopefully book 2, they'll get over that. No, I love you, Edward. I love you, Bella. Oh, Jacob. It's just like, and then book 3, I love you, Edward. I love you, Jacob. Fuck off, Jacob. And it's just like, okay, maybe book 5 will be better. I love you, Edward. I love you, Bella. Jacob. Jacob's like, I love you, Bella's daughter. And you're just like, oh, whoa. Jacob's a pedophile? Like,
oh, man. I was more thinking of, unfortunately, we have to bring this up, but a lot of anime series do this. Where it'll be like the anime movie, they kiss, and it's the big, like, yeah, they're together! And then the episode that follows the movie, they're right back to bickering and hating each other.
And it's like, you just fucking made out! It's like Kamina and the one chick. That was one of my favorite romances in Gurren Lagann.
I'm not familiar.
Oh my gosh. Okay, so there's this one character. There's 2 main characters, Kamina and Simone. There's this one girl that they really like, and the girl really likes Kamina. And Kamina really likes her. And Simone is just this little adolescent boy, and he's like, he's going through puberty, and he's like, well, I think she's attractive. Why doesn't she want to be with me? And it's like, well, because you're a little kid, and she's a grown woman. Well, she's not a grown woman, but she's a mature, like 18-year-old chick, and Kamina is a mature 18-year-old man, and of course they're going to have feelings for one another because that's just how it is. And the main character's like, well, why she doesn't kiss me, like, and then because of that, because of these feelings he ends up getting Kamina killed.
Whoa.
Yeah, not because he wants to kill him, but because he's so selfish in his sense of he wants to have a girlfriend that it ends up getting Kamina killed. And from that moment on, he has this huge character arc to the point where he's like, I have to take Kamina's place. I have to live the life he wasn't going to live because I stole it from him. And he's like, I need to live the life that Kamina wanted. I need to be the best I can be for him, and he lives his entire life, and he becomes this amazing, that's his turning point. That's when he becomes this badass, awesome hero, because he's like, I need to redeem myself. So I need to live my life and in redeeming myself, the way I redeem myself is I live the life that Kamina would have wanted me to live. And it's a badass character arc, and it's a badass romance where it's just like, wow, that didn't end happy. Holy shit. And the girl he does end up falling in love with, it's not even a good romance at that end because it's not a happy ending. It's a great story, and it's a lovely, and it's a beautiful, and it's definitely this romance. You've seen the Moulin Rouge, right? It's that romance where they love each other so much, but because life is life, they just can't be with one another because one of them just
star-crossed lovers.
Yeah, one of them just dies, but they. Well, in Moulin Rouge, Christian is devastated. Simone is like, I knew this was going to happen. I knew that she was going to die, but I'm okay with it. You know, I have prepared myself I had the chance to love her, and that's all I needed. And now that she's gone, yes, I'm sad and yes, I'm mourning, but I'm not devastated because I knew from the moment of loving her that this wasn't going to last forever. And I got everything that I wanted to get out of loving her. I loved her in every single way I could. And now that she's gone, he's not unsatisfied. He's like, I loved her, and, you know, I can move on. I'm not saying that he's probably never going to be with anyone else. He's probably going to be like, that she was the only one for me, and now that she's gone, I have no reason to be with anyone else. But he's not devastated. He's like, she's gone, but I loved her. And he's like, I loved her with every ounce of my being, like the only way I could. And because of that, I'm not sad. I'm happy. You know, I mourn her, but I'm happy. It's a really good ending, and it's awesome, and and they end it on that, and they don't draw it out, and the series is over, and they don't go anymore, and I think it's only one season or only 2 seasons, and it's so good, and the main overarching plot is just, you know, it really focuses on love, but I think the main overarching plot is no matter what, you always have it in you to overcome odds, no matter what. Yeah. Even if you die, you always have you always have it in you to overcome the odds, and it's so cool. It's awesome. Yeah. What's another really good anime that has like actual love? Okay, there's one anime that I hate. And I hate it so much because its aspect of love is so fucking disgusting. It's called Chobits, and it's about this guy who finds a robot in the garbage, and the robot's just little girl, and he's like, you know, but a girl of his age, and she's like, and he's like, oh, how do I turn her off? And she's like, oh, my off switch is in my vagina, and he's like, so I have to finger you to turn you off, and she's like, yeah, so he does it, and I'm just like, what? This is disgusting. What? So pretty much you're telling people if you want your girlfriend to leave you alone, finger her and she'll leave you alone. It's like, God. fucking, or what is it? That one anime, whose name always eludes me, where this one kid accidentally gets thrown into this high school that's just monsters, and all these monster girls want to fucking sleep with him, including this like 11-year-old little girl who's like, why didn't you want to sleep with me? And it's just like, pedophiles.
It's something that really bothers me about a lot of Japanese media. Even if it's not like technically a little girl, they look like little girls, or they sound.
That's the thing. Pedophilia wasn't illegal in Japan, I think, until like a few years ago, or like 10 or something years ago. So that's why
it's so creepy.
It's very creepy. Yes. It's
like it really just I can't.
I'm like,
and
no,
there's a
that's pedophile. You're a pedophile. Stop. That's a little girl.
Yeah.
Why do you want to be with someone who looks like a child? Ugh.
Yeah, having these love interests that look like children, it really freaks me out. And there's also these
there's nothing wrong with loving someone, even though there might be a child. But when you love them for sexual reasons, I'm sorry, but you're a pedophile.
That is pedophilia. But I'm thinking about, you know, a lot of stories in North America have sort of these same plot twists of, I don't know, like suddenly it's revealed that these people are long lost brother and sister, or something like that. You know, it's like we see
and they're
a lot
like
of
incest. You're my
what?
kids. It's like incest.
No, I was just saying, like, in like, let's say typical soap operas, it'll be like this character's there, and then suddenly it's like, oh, we were brothers all along. But in a lot of Japanese and Korean stories, it's like, we're in love. Oh no, but we're brother and sister. And it's like, I hate that.
It's like,
it's so creepy.
Why do we have to fetishize incest? That's disgusting.
Yeah, that's like this big plot twist of, you know, we're talking about the ultimate goals of these characters and these obstacles that stand in front of them. That's the big plot twist goal.
If your ultimate goal is to fuck, after you fuck, what do you do? Congratulations, your goal has been met. You can die. Like,
it's so creepy. I was reading this manga series, and I can't remember what it was, but it was when I was like 13 or 14. And I thought it was really pretty, and I was like, oh, this will be fun. And then it was like introducing all the characters. And then suddenly it went into like this like reflection mode of the characters like talking to themselves, and they were like, nobody knows I love my brother. And I'm like, and you're like, oh my god, that's disgusting.
Come on.
Like I don't. And then it cuts over to the brother, and the brother's like, nobody knows I love my sister. And I'm like, okay, clearly whoever wrote this didn't have a sibling.
Lannister.
Because it just would never, ever happen. Like, it's so creepy. I don't know how we got off on this, but it's just something that really bothers me.
If you're old enough to remember your sibling pooping in diapers, I'm sorry. No. Just stop. Just stop. If you... Do you want inbred children? Because that's how you get inbred children. Disgusting. Oh, fucking... What was it? There was another anime that pissed me off. Manga. What was it? Oh, yeah. There was this gay anime where they're just like... And I remember my friend was like, here, Connor, you want to read this? And it was like a joke. And I'm like, sure. So I pick it up and I'm reading it. And it's like these two dudes, and they're just like sitting at a dinner table and they're eating cereal. And then I flip the page, and the next thing I know, this one dude has jumped across the table on top of the other guy and is now fucking him in the ass. And I'm just like,
oh my god,
you were just eating a cereal a panel ago! One panel ago! And now they're just having sex out of the fucking blue? What? And it's like, oh, we did it for the sake of doing it. It's like, okay. I mean, granted, the manga probably falls under porn, which does not apply to any storytelling whatsoever, because it's porn, and the only reason you make it is for to get off. So I guess it's a bad example. But I mean, you get animes where their main plot, and it's not even a porno, but their main plot is how can we sexualize this, or how can we make this sexy? And you're just like, can I just see giant robots?
This cereal.
Yeah. Oh man, this cereal looks like little tits, and I just want to suck on it. And he's like, no, I can't eat cereal anymore. Mom, better burn the Lucky Charms, because I can't look at them the same.
Oh my god, let's talk about a successful story that's not
here. Fucking, you know, one of my favorite current animes is One Punch Man, because everything is solved with one punch, and I'm like, thank you. Ugh.
Yeah.
I love it, like the super sexualized, like, hi, I'm the mosquito villain, and my tits are out, and blah blah blah. She just pops, and you're just like, yeah, she's dead.
Oh my god, we gotta move somewhere else. Let's end by talking about one. Let's say our favorite characters in either a comic or a movie or a book, like one of the three, and why they're our favorite character.
Garfield.
Shut up.
No. Oh, okay. So one of my favorite characters. You go first. I have to think.
My favorite character, I think, pretty much ever, is this character from a Showtime show in the 90s that I've mentioned before called Queer as Folk, and he's the whole reason I like the show. The show's pretty stupid. Like, it's not very well written. It's not that great of a show. But his name is Brian, and he is obsessed with being sort of a sexual god. Like, that's all he finds his own worth in, and he's coming up on, like, he's at the end of his 20s. When the series starts, he's 29, and he's getting ready to turn 30, and to his mind, it's like the end of his life. Like, he can't accept that, like, he's becoming quote unquote old, and all of his friends are moving on, and like, I know it's not, but like, all of his friends are moving on and like having serious relationships and getting married and having kids, and it sort of goes back and talks about how his parents were very abusive and had a horrible relationship, and when he started becoming sexually active, I think they said he was like 14 or something, was when he finally had self-worth. And so he feels like that's all he's worth.
Yeah.
And so he's like this super cocky bastard kind of guy, but he's like really complex, really beautifully written. And and he goes on this journey of falling in love with this like 18-year-old kid who shows him like they have a one-night stand, and the kid is like, I love you, and
I love you.
he's
like, whoa.
He's like, no, don't. Like, we just met, we just hooked up, like, it's not a big deal. But this kid actually like changes his life and shows him like he's worth something. It's just it's good. It's good. And he's a great character though.
I think I have to say my favorite character is probably the Joker.
Oh yeah.
And the reason the Joker is one of my favorite characters is because he's the perfect villain.
Mm-hmm.
He's everything that isn't the hero.
Yeah.
And he's dapper, and he's a sophisticate, and he's very sophisticated, but he's morbidly insane.
Yeah.
And that's the thing that makes him so interesting, is because you don't know if he walks into your house, he's either gonna kill you or he's gonna give you $1 million, and you don't know why.
Mm-hmm.
Because he's just that crazy. But he's funny, and he's a clown, but he's actually funny, you know? And he's just this character who is just a fucking loon, and he's just, you know, but he's so evil, and he's scary. He is legitimately scary. And he's just this, you know, he's the perfect villain. He's so good. And I think my favorite, now that I'm thinking, I think my favorite, like, hero character probably have to be Sigourney Weaver's Ripley from Alien.
Yeah, I gotta see Alien so that I can keep up with your.
She's a fucking kick-ass, badass bitch who goes around doing, you know, what's gotta get done. Ugh, she's so badass. Yeah, I'm sorry. But yeah, the Joker is probably one of my favorite, like, villains, and Sigourney Weaver's Ripley is probably one of my favorite heroes, because they're just, you can get behind them, and, like, with the Joker, you're like, I actually want to see where this goes. And with Ripley, you're like, that's right, shoot that alien, you know, save that little girl, blow that ship up, oh yeah, kick ass. And you're just like, you're rooting for her the whole time.
If we're talking heroes and villains, I'm trying to think who my favorite hero, favorite villain would be. The Joker is such a strong choice because he just wants to watch the world burn.
Because it's fun to watch fire, you know?
Yeah, it's just crazy. I really enjoyed, I don't know if I can think about like my favorite of all time, but I really enjoyed Horns, because the villain and the hero, they sort of have, in everyone else's eyes, they have opposite roles.
But they're so similar.
What?
But they're very similar.
They are similar in some ways, but it's more about like the killer. Everyone thinks he's this chaste, wonderful, saintly person, and the hero.
What is that? Well, hold on a minute. What does that mean by chaste?
Chaste, wholesome, I guess is it.
I was just watching Monty Python, and one of the knights is so and so the chaste, and he's the one who goes into the castle of Anthrax, and all the girls are like, "Please sleep with us." So okay, I get it now. Okay, continue.
Maybe I have the definition wrong, but I'm pretty sure that's what it means.
Yeah.
And whereas the hero, who is the sort of the victim of this situation, everyone thinks he's a killer and a crazy person, and he's throughout the story is literally becoming the devil. And it's really interesting. I like roles that turn themselves on their heads, you know. But I'm running out of things to say. I have been running since like 9 o'clock this morning, working, and I'm done. I haven't even eaten today. Like I haven't had a free moment today, so I'm just.
Get a chicken pot pie.
I don't have a chicken pot pie.
I'm about to go get one myself and eat it. I love chicken pot pie. It's just so good. So I guess we're going to be ending this episode, and we're going to try very hard to come back next week on Monday and or Tuesday at 9, if we can fucking remember, because we have such a problem with it.
It's true.
But yeah, and I love it because I'm looking at our reviews, and we're getting so many people now. You know.
Oh really?
Well, I mean, not right now. We have 3 viewers, but you know, like we get so many views now. We have like some of our videos have 24 views, and I'm like, we're doing it. We're doing it.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm running on empty here. I have nothing to add.
Yeah. So we're gonna call it for tonight. Thanks everyone for tuning in. I hope you enjoyed our new background of our empty recording studio. Mm-hmm. You know, we found it in a forest. So yeah.
That's our real studio where we really are.
Yeah, that's where we really are. That's our phone. That's our piece of tape. Those are our out-of-date chairs. That's our lead paint. Yep. All of it. You know. Signing off.